I'm going to make a statement that at first is going to seem ridiculous and overly optimistic. But I think after you think about it for a second, you might agree. I'm going to say that Cardano has not been this locked and loaded for the upcoming calendar year since 2020, since December 2020. And in December 2020, it just seemed like we were extremely ready for 2021. But in retrospect, I would argue that it just seemed that way. And actually, even in December 2020, we weren't as prepared for the upcoming year as we are right now. If you just want that number on CMC to be locked and loaded for a rapid increase in elevation, or if you're finding value in these videos, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies DRep address and the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. All right. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me. I hope everyone is joining. Probably about now, almost everybody's joining, and they are maybe off. Maybe everybody is off work, or tonight is the first night. They don't have to wake back up in the morning for work, or it's already New Year's Eve and you're off. But I know a lot of people are also working New Year's Eve, but I hope a lot of you are off and already enjoying a little holiday time. Let's see who's here. Let's see who's here right now. We've got Joe Davidson. Joe says, I messed up and asked Grok to teach me assembly. Now I'm not sure if I understand how people don't think computers are pure magic. Oh, hi there, AOS. Happy nearly New Year. Thank you for that. Happy New Year to you. That's impressive. I have never sat down to Grok or any other LLM and even thought about asking it to teach me assembly. It's not a thought that's ever occurred to me. I'm glad there's somebody out there doing those things though. Fly Over Me says that's one hell of a 2026 ray gun army. I feel like we kind of are that. We kind of are going to be a ray gun army in 2026. I mean, you never know how things are going to go, right? Like 2025 was a hell of a surprise to all of us, I think, in a bad way. But man, 2026 is looking good. Guinness Speaks says, hell yeah, I want this episode so bad. Oh, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Hill Dog is here. Yep. Guinness Speaks is here. Hill Dog. Okay. Guinness Speaks is night going to be the cannon. Yep, absolutely. Joe says, I'm so excited. I'm ready, locked and loaded, although I need more ADA at these prices. I know that's the one thing that's bothering me. I would love to be DCAing at these prices. We can call it, hey, we can call it whatever you want. We can call it whatever you want. If everybody wants that to be a railgun, we'll call it a railgun. My hope is that night doesn't climb too fast. A year is a long time while new tokens thaw. Yep. Yeah, timing is going to be interesting. I think 2026 is going to be another story of timing for us. Be careful grabbing quick profits. Yeah, that's probably good advice always in crypto. A lot of dumb stuff happening in Congress land. Yay. Yeah, unfortunately, that's to be true all the time. Eric Williams is here. Let's go. Let's go, Eric. Joe Davidson says, what a year awaits us, huh? Yep, I think so. Adam Olson is here. Adam says, I'm glad I read books as a kid. Solana kids are watching WWE. That's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel, Adam. Cardano is the sleeping dragon that is being awoken. It feels that way. It does feel that way to me. 2026 all hinges on government T-bonds. There's a lot of debt out there. Yep, that's definitely been something we've talked about for about the last 4 years, and I think we're finally getting to a good point. Hopefully. Crunchy Cat says, this is the first time I'm here before AOS. Good. Hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. Ticker AOS. That's right. Taz is here. What's up, Cardano fam? What's up, Taz? Thanks for joining. Crazy Speed Freak says hello. Good evening. Hello, Crazy Speed Freak. Jeff Burns says, let's go, Jeff. Is that Goliath's fleshlight? that had not occurred to me that this could be that type of device for a giant. Although I remember from my days watching Rogan when his only sponsor was the fleshlight, he would literally, maybe people here are too young to remember this, but he would literally hold one up and like occasionally he would talk about it, but he would literally show them on the podcast and they were his only sponsor. I remember what they looked like, and there was definitely some kind of a covering thing on the on the barrel end there. But I won't talk too much about that. But I think the people who remember. Otis Frichov says, "What's up, AOS fam? Let's go, Otis Frichov. Let's go. Get us speaks. Let's go." Okay, let's see. Joe Davidson. We are past whispering. Yell that shit. Not late. Don't wake the doggies. Please whisper. Okay. I was tempted to yell it, but yeah, I'm afraid probably my neighbors would think I'm crazy as well. We are almost rid of this year. This is Taz. We are almost rid of this year. Time for a new start. I see things changing for the better. Friends who never asked about crypto are asking me about crypto changes in there. I like the sounds of that, Taz. That sounds fantastic. Thanks for saying that, Jeff. Appreciate that. Crunchycat says, I've delegated my voting power to you again. Please vote no for mostly everything, kind sir. That's generally my plan, at least as far as treasury withdrawals go. I won't elaborate too much on that because we talk about that all the time. But of course, we are very close to the NCL. We're very close to the NCL cap, which is not where I wanted us to be. I think a lot of people, Ada Well, myself, many others, we're definitely on the let's spend less tip all year, which, part of which was the, was the basis for Cardano Wells' departure. But, as predicted, that did not happen. I've said all along, bureaucracies will spend absolutely every single dime they can. And we'll actually talk about a new treasury withdrawal that I'm planning to vote no on again tonight. So that is my plan, to vote no. James Syracuse, hello. Thanks for joining. I hope so. Sim, let's go, Sim. Thanks for joining. Renee Aradia says, hello, everyone. I'm very grateful for this community. I'm so happy you are back. Not everything was bad on Twitter. Oh, thank you for saying that, Renee. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that very much. Joe, I appreciate you saying that. Pucky Hawk says, rock on New Year's Eve. It is New Year's Eve in the Western Hemisphere, at least. I think, yeah, a lot of the rest of the world is already into New Year's Eve, but so I talked about this last night. or the night before, Jeff. I don't want to everybody. I went into extreme detail on this last night, so go back and listen to that. And I have a complete explanation of what was going on. It's fixed now. Everything's fixed now, though. Is the TLDR. Scolder says that's a huge night emission cannon. It is. I like that the three go-to things were a railgun, a giant's fleshlight, or a night emission cannon. I'll go with night emission cannon. I like night emission cannon. It definitely looks that way. I hope this next year is better than this soon to be finished. Let's go. Bishop Supertramp, I'm with you. On this 100%. 1 hour left in the mine, then 6 hours tomorrow. Okay, not bad. 6 hours tomorrow is not bad. One more today and 6 tomorrow. Not too bad. I actually put in some fiat mining time today on a freelance basis, which is something I haven't done in a long time. But I haven't done any fiat mining at all in months, as you all know. But I actually did a little freelance fiat mining today and yesterday. Crunchycast is jumping on the walking pad, so I'll be listening in now. Okay, great. Sim says, never seen a bigger disconnect from tech and abilities of a chain from price action. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, part of that is definitely the liquidity problem. Cram says, let's fucking go 2026. Yep, with you on that. Frazek, thanks for joining. Brown Bearded Hermit says that wouldn't be the language I would pick to learn. That's for sure. Oh, that's as to the assembly. Yep, absolutely. Mark Going says, have a great Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Mark. The Ignorant Bastard says, let's go here in Bangkok. I'm also working with ASM decoding a 1992 DOS game. Wow. Wow. Okay. What's the, I'm not that many people will recognize the name, but what's the, if you don't mind, you don't have to disclose it if you don't want to, but what's the game? What's the name of the game? J. Marie, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Night and thaw taxes slow the price. Yeah, that's true. That's true. 8 Eclipse is here. Fly Over Me says, had some very big expenditures this year. Don't think it'll happen every year. I had one very big unexpected one as well, to be honest with you. I had one very big unexpected one. Easyweez tuning in from London. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Joe Davidson says, vote no. Latest Bloomer says, let's go tacos. Let's go tacos. Okay. I'm pretty much always in favor of tacos. Oh, the Ignorant Bastard just sent a super chat for $20. Thank you. I think that ties for the biggest super chat ever. I think I've only had one other super chat that was $20. I think the former reigning champion was $20. This ties it, if I remember right. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it was, believe 20 is the biggest one ever. So thank you very much, Ignorant Bastard. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that very much. Pucky Hawk says, once someone said fleshlight, let's see, once someone said fleshlight, I cannot unsee that now. Joe says AOS is like the Joe Rogan of Cardano. Soon we'll be watching number 7,676, and he'll be interviewing big institutions and large wells. That'd be fun. And the super chat was, Happy New Year's. Let's go, brother. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Ignorant Bastard. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Okay, James remembers. James was the previous $20. Thank you for that, James. So you guys are tied. You guys are both tied for the biggest ones ever, which I appreciate very, very much. Okay, let's jump in, guys. So we've got our giant nocturnal emissions cannon here. And I think this is it's I didn't, I was intrigued by Night like everybody else. One of the reasons I was intrigued by Night was directionally correct, but for the wrong reason. I was very, very intrigued by Night because early on it was announced the smart contract programming language was going to be TypeScript. I was like, awesome. Let's face it, JavaScript is much easier to learn than Haskell. So, and thank God we've got alternatives to Plutus. We've got Aiken, but let's face it, JavaScript is a language that is widely distributed among developers across the globe. A lot of people who are happy to code in JavaScript. So I was like, this is going to be great. People will actually be able to code smart contracts. You won't have to rely on the same 20 dudes to make all the smart contracts like on Cardano. This is fantastic. That turned out to be right directionally. It was going to be much easier to create dApps on Midnight. What I didn't know, what couldn't have been predicted then, was that LLMs would bring this innovation we're now calling vibe coding and make it super easy for anyone to create things with code, right? Including dApps on cryptocurrency blockchains. So that's a really big deal. And if I would have known that the vibe coding thing was going to be a thing, I probably would have thought differently about Haskell. I detailed on this channel how I spent, many months going through 600 pages of the world's biggest Haskell textbook, trying to learn Haskell. And at the end of it was a really good experience. I'm glad I did it. Learned a lot about Haskell, but especially about lambda calculus. But there's still no way I could have coded a decent Plutus smart contract. This is going to be very different with Midnight. So that turned out to be directionally correct for a totally different reason than the one I expected. But the other thing I didn't expect at all, that I predicted 0%, not even directionally, was that privacy was going to be such a gigantic trend right as Midnight comes out, totally focused on privacy. This is like amazing. I don't even want to call it coincidence. I want to call it karma, because in Cardano, we've sort of done all the right things. We haven't been the bad actors in crypto. We didn't create a meme coin casino that would just extract money from the populace and deliver it into the hands of, you know, a handful of project runners, basically. I mean, it was way more people than that extracting money on Solana, but we didn't build that kind of thing, right? And that's something that would have worked in the last cycle. Instead, we stuck to our guns. We stuck to our nocturnal emission cannons, and we kept building things that we thought followed the first principles of crypto, right? It was like, let's stick with decentralization. Let's keep Cardano as the base layer of this Layoverse. Let's actually add functionality. Let's just not copy something that already exists out there. Let's innovate. Let's create something innovative and new, something the world's never seen before, something that stretches technologically past where crypto is currently. I say we because I like to think that Cardano is a large community. Really, it was IOG, obviously, building out Midnight. And they did those things, right? The Night token lives on the Cardano blockchain. Sure, I mean, when Midnight launches, it'll live on both Midnight and the Cardano blockchain. It'll live on both chains. But Midnight's also a partner chain of Cardano. So Charles could have distributed the Night tokens in a completely different way, made a clean break from Cardano, and just had this brand new blockchain and been like, I was the founder of Cardano. Now I'm working on my next project. A lot of founders in crypto have done that. Some have done that on a serial basis repeatedly, and you can get away with it. Charles could have gotten away with that easily, but he didn't do that. He gave us ADA holders the biggest chunk of Night tokens that any token holding community got, way, way bigger than even Bitcoin, which was great. So we kind of stuck to our guns, and they did do, the Glacier drop was apparently the biggest airdrop in the history of crypto. There was no ICO. The tokens weren't sold. Sure, there was the token generation entity that got a chunk, and the Midnight Foundation's got a chunk. And it's a different distribution than, say, the original distribution of Cardano, where all the insider entities got less than 20%. What did they get? Like 17%? I forget. It's been so long now. So it's a different distribution. The insider entities got a lot more than in the case of the launch of Cardano. But it seems like one of the reasons for that is that lessons were learned in Cardano. And I think Charles has plans. Charles and IOG and Midnight have plans for their allocations. They're going to try and go out and buy a lot of the things that Cardano wasn't able to buy as it went along, which is probably the right way to do it these days in crypto. But this is when I started thinking about this, I thought to myself, this feels a lot like December 2020. In December 2020, people were very optimistic about 2021, and for good reason. We were going to go all the way up above $3 in September 2021. We didn't know that yet. All we knew was that Goguen was coming. Goguen was smart contracts. And at a certain point in 2021, we figured out that that was going to happen by the Wyoming summit that happened in September of 2021. And I think for a lot of us, there was kind of this notion that Goguen would get turned on and all these dApps would come, and all of a sudden we would zoom past Ethereum to be the second biggest blockchain in all of crypto because the dApps were instantly going to be there. Charles had the famous quote that there were going to be, I forget what he said, tens of thousands of tokens and thousands of dApps or whatever. I'm messing up the numbers, but whatever it was. And it turned out, so the price did do crazy things, in that whole cycle. I think in Q1 of 2018 or some point in 2018, I was buying ADA for less than 3 cents. And just before the Wyoming summit in September of 2021, Cardano was above $3. So the price did do amazing things. Goguen came, a lot of things were announced at that 2021 summit. And we realized there's a problem. The Plutus application backend, the PAB, we needed the PAB. Smart contracts were possible, but there was no Plutus application backend. There was no way, we didn't yet have all the infrastructure the dApps needed to actually interact, right, with the blockchain. So we probably actually shouldn't have been so optimistic in December 2021, but we were very optimistic. Things seemed very optimistic going forward. If we'd known exactly what that was going to look like in September 2021, probably we would have been much less enthusiastic. That's why I'm saying this time is maybe the most locked and loaded Cardano has ever actually been. It seemed like we were super prepared in December 2020. We actually weren't because of this PAB issue. That's just a part of Cardano history now. This is a long time ago now. This is, over 4 years ago. But this time, I think we are prepared. We've all seen the roadmap for Midnight. Hilo, Kukolu, Mohalu, Ua. It's all happening this year. The Night token launch with Hilo. dApps go live with Kukolu. And a federated mainnet. With Mohalu, the SPOs and the nodes go online. SPOs start making blocks. With UA, we become fully decentralized. And there's recursive trustless bridging. There's interoperability with other blockchain ecosystems. That's all scheduled for 2026. And it's not this, it doesn't seem like the same kind of process of technological discovery as 2021 was going to be. I mean, in 2021, they're still kind of, inventing EUTXO. How do you even do smart contracts on UTXO? That was all kind of being figured out back then. This isn't that big a technological jump. They're doing really cool stuff with zero knowledge proofs and selective disclosure, selective privacy. This is all really cool, innovative stuff, but it seems a little more certain than what was going on with inventing smart contracts on UTXO, like was going to happen in 2021, and really wouldn't really be finished in 2021. Theoretically, academically, it was finished, but actually having a working Plutus application backend wasn't really even going to be done when we thought it was going to be done in 2021. This time feels just as optimistic. It feels like the future is just as bright, only there's a lot less technological uncertainty. Things seem a lot more secure. It seems like we are more locked and loaded for 2026 in the Cardano layerverse than we've ever been for any academic year before. And we're going to go into why, but first let's hit some comments there. So Michael, welcome Michael. Where do you think ADO would be price-wise by 2030? I'm hoping $5, but hoping ETFs and stablecoin integrations. What do you think? I have no damn idea. I don't know. I don't know what the price is going to be in 2026, let alone 2030. I like the sounds of what you're saying, but who the hell knows? 2025 was such a surprise. If anybody believed that anybody could predict prices in crypto with any level of certainty, 2025 should have proved that no one can do it, let alone me. Rulo, hola. Rulo says, finishing 2025 here in Oz. Happy 2026, people. Happy 2026. Yep, I think that's it's either a railgun or a Giant's fleshlight or nocturnal emissions. We decided. NEC official night lexicon nocturnal emissions canon. Brown bearded hermit says, just think if YouTube got off their collective asses and implemented crypto super chats. That'd be awesome. If I wish that would happen. That would be excellent. That'd be excellent. Joe says Grok paired with anti-gravity using Claude Code Opus 4.5 is a godsend for vibe coders. Yeah, everybody's loving. There's so much discussion of Opus 4.5 right now. I just think LLMs period are amazing for vibe coding. Like even just using Grok, which is not intended necessarily. It's obviously a general LLM. It's not, it's the interface is not built out for vibe coding. Even just using straight Grok, the latest version of Grok, the thinking version is amazing compared to what coding was like before. Obviously, I did very little, but I did make something in JavaScript back in the day. Brian Packard, good evening. The Ignorant Bastard says, the issue with vibe coding, I have spent last 16 months playing with it, is the issue with security LLM takes so many shortcuts and uses generic placeholders. You don't know what you don't know. That's true. That's true. You got to look things over. You definitely got to look things over. Managing context turns out to be a really big deal too. I talked about this a little bit last night, but I've definitely got a giant thread with Grok where we're vibe coding something, and definitely a lot of the skill seems to be in context management. People are starting to talk about that now on X too. So Charles is going AI twin, I hear, with all archive stuff, man. Maybe edit some language. Sorry for the professional criticism. Messaging critical. Don't need trolls. Reposting bad clips for midnight. So okay, with all archive stuff. So Charles is going AI twin with all archive stuff. Is it going to be all archive stuff, or, I mean, obviously the AI twin is going to have to be trained on, things from the past, kind of like all AIs are. But I mean, I don't think it's going to, I don't know that it's really just going to be, I don't know that it's going to feel like it's just regurgitating archive stuff. And that maybe that's not what you mean, but I think it's going to be, a lot like talking to, what I'm expecting, I could be totally wrong, is that it's going to feel like talking to a Grok that is impersonating Charles. That's kind of what I'm expecting. We shake. Yeah, I think we're shaking off a lot of meme coin projects. I think we are. That's right. Afro in the Wind. It is a nocturnal emissions cannon, which is going to blast our little astronaut friend out of the desert. I'm sure he's blasting someone with his nocturnal emission cannon, but a lot of people probably also noticed he has a friend for one of the first times. I thought this is probably 2026 is supposed to mark his departure from the deserts of 2025. I think he's going to find himself in a much more lush landscape in a lot of cases. I'm not saying he won't ever be back in the desert, but probably he'll be in a much more lush terrain in 2026. But I thought, since he's blasting his way out of the desert, he might as well have a friend before we leave 2025. Joe says Charles's AI goes rogue and ends up creating another new blockchain. That would be unfortunate if Charles's AI twin launched, Fid Night or something like that. Solana Night. Charles's AI twin launches Solana Night, a new partner chain for Solana. That would be highly unfortunate for us in Cardano and hard to explain. Mike says, yeah, I'm back. Christmas was busy. I'm recovering. Yeah, I think all of us. Fleshlight knockoff was called. Oh my God. I've heard people use that expression. Was that actually a branded product? Maybe I don't want to know, but I'm guessing it was. Mike M says it's New Year's already. It's New Year's already in Mike M's neck of the woods. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Ruandre says, can Knight hit 50 cents in January? No idea. Gogan before Rogan and the Africa Summit. Yeah, Adam remembers. Gogan before Rogan. Yeah, that's still true. Rogan hasn't happened yet. So Gogan was definitely before Rogan. Somebody pointed that out the other day, that it still could be true. 2025 did suck. Christmas was great. Yep, I agree with that. Guinness Speaks says, I'm old enough to remember thinking I would get rich buying the Summit tokens. Oh, that's funny. That's pretty funny. Knight already hit 45. Are you talking about in the opening hours of trading? It did hit some crazy numbers in the opening hours trading. Good morning, MVP. The MVP. Good morning. Be prepared for $1. Okay, yep. I think people look at crypto wrong. On 100x would be nice, but having an asset the government can't freeze or inflate away is priceless. Agreed. Adam Olson says, still hoping for number 177 layer verse. Yep. Adam always remembers. I'm guessing that's the correct number for the first layer verse video. I think we're getting there. Charles is talking about launching a partner chain like every year. If he launches a partner chain every year and we all get the tokens for that partner chain, partner chains are going to start stacking up, and probably other people besides IO will start launching partner chains, and probably IO in collaboration with other groups like Hosky Chain apparently is going to be a partner chain. So we might end up with the Layerverse. This, I mean, I would argue that I would argue that sort of like a combination of Hydra and Knight are the first two layers in the Layerverse. So I would argue we're kind of well on our way there. The whole market is manipulated by them being able to make USD out of nothing. We get its value. Agreed. Rogan after Hilo. He's well put. Well put. Best is use LLM and tools for MVP and testing, but don't publish anything for real until you have real engineers audit it, especially if dealing with other people's money. Probably, I think there's probably a lot of people. I would guess there's a lot of people vibe coding stuff for midnight right now. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out about that. Basically, I'm saying right now there's probably a lot of people fucking around, and we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out when those dApps launch. So we'll find out about that. The MVP. I was wondering, are you familiar with the work of Fallon Icarus on true decentralized order book DEX on Cardano? The new Gravity DEX seems like it's hinting towards such a solution. I'm not familiar with Fallon Icarus. I've never heard that name before. But I think quite often, and I have thought quite often ever since the launch of AMM DEXs on Cardano about the centralization problems with batchers. That was definitely singularly my biggest disappointment in Cardano DeFi. It's not anybody's fault. It's not anybody's fault when you create brand new technology. There are going to be unexpected, impacts from various choices. And the batcher issue is one of those. I don't think any of us predicted that. I'm sure there's some people who warned about that issue and no one listened to them or saw that coming. But largely the mainstream Cardano community didn't know that batchers were going to have to be a thing for AMM DEXs to run on Cardano. Here we are. We've got batchers, and when Gravity started indicating that they were going to come out with a DEX model that didn't require batchers, I was excited. I was pretty excited. Still excited. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on that. Excitement are my thoughts on that. I don't know anything about Fallon Icarus, but those are my feelings on that. And I've talked many times on this channel about how I'm very, very in favor of order book DEXs as opposed to AMM DEXs. And I've also mentioned many, many times that the first DEX on Cardano was an order book DEX before we ever had an AMM DEX. So Grok talking would be really positive. Yep. Throwing up archived tweets could already be done today by interns. I think the bot Charles has constructed will do a lot more. That's my feeling. Skolder says, I don't remember Charles ever mentioning AI twin, just digital twin. There's tons of social manager apps out there to do that by copying his selected Discord and YouTube post to X. That would be depressing. If you're right, Skolder, and I'm not saying you're not, you might be right. If it turns out to be a digital twin and not an AI twin, as in it just reposts his old shit, that would not be as cool. And maybe he would prefer something like that because then he won't have the AI saying shit that he would never say, hallucinating stuff. But I think for sure an AI twin would be a lot more fun than just some automation that reposts his old shit. That would be kind of boring. But maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he wants people to hate his X profile, pay no attention to it, and go into the Discord. So maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know. Joe says, be right back, going to ask Grok to vibe code a midnight protocol. the Sol Knight partner chain. The MVP. Oh, thank you. Yeah, share it with me. I'd love to see it. Well, there is so much shit coming by March, the Japan tour, laugh out loud. Yeah. He's made some videos about this explaining his proposition. I found it very interesting. Okay, yeah, I'd like to see the account. Please send it to me. The Ignorant Master says, that's what worries me. Like early days of smart contracts and DEX, people created dApps with major flaws that let hackers have a field day and things lost to the ether due to bad code. I mean, yeah, for sure, no matter what it was, whether it was LLM enabled vibe coding or something else, or just some very simple manner of coding. I mean, I would argue that Marlowe back in the day, like when I first submitted the white paper for the Army of Spies DApp, I included code for the smart contract that would run the Army of Spies DApp in Marlowe. And at the time, I kept asking. I would like whenever there was any kind of whenever there was like an AMA. Actually, one time at some big Cardano function, I asked somebody, you know, a question about Marlowe that would have like probably enable a lot of people to actually use Marlowe, and get dApps on the chain. And it was something I didn't know if it was something that was like feasible technically, and it probably was not. But in retrospect, like at the time, what I wanted was for Marlowe to be a thing that would do that. Now I'm probably glad it never happened and probably was never really possible, never really practical, because we would have had any problems we're going to have with upcoming vibe coded dApps. We would have had 10x if Marlowe would have lived up to the dream, the dream of Marlowe. So I'm kind of glad that we didn't end up with 10,000 Marlowe dApps sort of put together by random people. We're going to get some percentage of that with vibe coded dApps on Midnight for sure. So it's going to be a different environment. Like we have many fewer dApps running on Cardano right now than some other chains. Part of that is due to the accessibility of the coding, but it's going to be different on Midnight. So it's going to be a different situation. People are going to have to be a lot more careful about where they lock their money. People are going to have to be very careful about where they lock their money. And my advice is not going to change. My advice is going to be don't lobster trap your little lobsters, your little ADA lobsters. Keep self-custody. Do not put any amount of your little ADA lobsters into any cave at all. Just keep self-custody. If you want to use something, put a small amount in, use it, and then get it out. And there will be people who want those yields, and there will be lobster traps. Some of the yield producing platforms that will be a thing, will turn out to be lobster traps, either accidentally or on purpose. Probably a lot more accidentally because they'll be exploited or whatever. But my advice won't change. My advice will be self-custody as much as you can. Only give up custody of your little ADA lobsters on a very short-term basis and only very small amounts that you won't care about losing. That's the way I operate, and that'll always be my my advice. So Charles said it was an AI twin on a space. Okay, so we got conflicting recollections of what it's going to be. So I'm hoping it's an AI twin. God damn it, I'm hoping. So Joe says he's mentioned in a live stream it would be a digital persona that interacts instead of him, but based on his previous personality as training data. Okay. I remember all the waves MuesliSwap created by coming out of nowhere as an anonymous team. Yeah, a lot of people were very leery of MuesliSwap because nobody knew who the hell they were. I don't blame them. Back then it was a much scarier regulatory situation. Like starting a DEX was a lot more uncertain. We didn't have a crypto-friendly administration in the White House. So people were very leery of MuesliSwap when they first came out. And then of course they became public eventually, and we knew exactly who they were who were running MuesliSwap. But at first people were very scared. Yep, that's true. Exactly. Yep. Okay, the AI twin thing has been a thing with Charles's gaming company. They showed tech at NFT XLV, REFLX. Those making AI gaming twins that let you play games like Fortnite with a streamer's digital AI twin. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Mike M, did I misspell there? Wow, that's bad. Oh, I didn't see. What was the misspelling? What was the misspelling, Mike? I didn't see what the misspelling was. Knight is down 7% on dollar right now. I see buying opportunity. Okay. Adam says, is this your last show is this your last post before the Clarity Act gets denied? It would be disappointing. If this is your last post before the Clarity Act gets denied, it would be disappointing. I don't. I mean, last I heard, you can tell me if you know something more recent, but last I heard was we were going to get a markup of the Clarity Act in January. So if we're just at the markup stage, there's still a lot going on. So I don't believe this will be my last post before the Clarity Act does anything. Otis Fricio says, as long as Charles' twin is not like Garth Brooks, Chris Gain twin, I think we will we will be okay. So one of the most hilarious things I think is the theory about Garth Brooks being I don't even want to talk about it because Garth Brooks has way too money and I don't want him to sue me for defamation. But there's a theory about Garth Brooks being a certain type of something. Is Chris Gaines I know about the Chris Gaines personality. Is Chris Gaines the personality they're assigning to that particular theory about Garth Brooks? But I'm with you. We don't want Charles's twin to be like that particular theory about Garth Brooks. Charles really has a hard-on for Trump. Yeah, it's like a negative one. Different generations use that term differently. I think you're using it in the same way I would, which is to mean Charles is not happy with Trump and loves to talk about how he's not happy with Trump. But that is definitely true. MusiSwap will forever bring me nightmares. I was one of the first ones who sold all my LQ tokens on that. Okay. Yep. RFLX was, in my opinion, saw Charles getting scanned up close. I think I remember something about this, but not much. Jay Coco, thanks for joining. That's right. That's right. We were talking about serial killings. We were talking about serial killings. That was the rock name he used. Yep, I remember that part, the Chris Gaines thing. I think a lot of people are upset with Trump. Very true. Always. He doesn't unalive people on tour. I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that's being discussed, isn't it? I don't agree that Trump coins suck the air out of crypto as much as I saw Bitcoin ETF suck the life out of crypto for a whole fucking year. I actually agree with you, Mike. I actually agree with you. I think the ETFs and the lack of liquidity, I think it was basically the lack of liquidity, and the institutional liquidity was sucked up by the ETFs. So we did have this extra institutional liquidity. There was no retail participation because there was no real liquidity. I should put it this way. The institutional participation all went to ETFs, and there was no liquidity to produce retail participation. So the year sucked. That's my take on it. Does anyone remember Philpaw? I think that was his name. Whatever happened. I remember that username. I do. Okay, so we've taken way too long. We're kind of coming on a holiday, so I thought it was worth it to spend a lot of time seeing how, taking the pulse of everybody in the army of spies, taking the pulse, seeing how people are doing, what people are thinking. It's actually valuable to me to do that. So, and hopefully it's good for you guys too. So let's jump in here though, and actually get to the news items, the video. So here's part of what made me think this today. Here's part of why we ended up with a gigantic nocturnal emissions cannon, the NEC. This is why I think the NEC is going to help the astronaut blast his way out of the damn desert, and why he has a friend now. It's hard to have a friend when you're wandering alone in the desert with no weapons, nothing to defend yourself. But the second you got a nocturnal emission cannon, you can get a friend. That's happened to our astronaut here. And here's why I think Midnight is a nocturnal emissions cannon and not a nocturnal emissions, slingshot or 2020 or 22 or something like that, right? So here's a post. This is interesting. Here's a post from Cointelegraph. They're talking about the Grayscale quarterly research, which we actually have right here. We can just go directly to their quarterly research. So this quarterly research piece is called Crypto Sectors Quarterly, a Preference for Privacy. So this is their big review of Q4, and they titled it A Preference for Privacy. This is how big the privacy trend is right here. And this is not them just subjectively deciding, hey, artistically deciding that's the best name for this article. It's based on data. It's based on this data right here. So top 20 highlights performance of privacy theme. So check out their top 20 crypto projects. Ranked number 1, Zcash, 90-day price return percentage, 605. Next up, Monero, 48.4. Both privacy coins, number 1 and number 2, privacy coins. You've got Dash down here in number 5 with a 92% return. What we're seeing is this, it's not just sentiment on X. You could convince yourself, like, everybody's talking about Zcash on X because a few influencers are going crazy on X, talking about Zcash. That's why everybody's all hyped up about privacy, and it is reflected in the social media mindshare. You see the two biggest social media mindshare counts they have right here are Zcash, and Monero is not actually number 2, but Zcash is definitely the biggest. You can see clearly here, Uniswap was number 1. What is this? Is this Belda? No, I can't believe that. I have a hard time buying that one, but what do I know? But Zcash was definitely number 1 in mindshare. But the price, Zcash outperformed everything on this chart to a crazy extent. I mean, look at Uniswap, negative 20%. Zcash, 605%. Monero, 48.4%. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So Dash, 92%. The numbers, the 605% number is pretty crazy. This is pretty crazy. So we can compare this to Q3. Here's their same article for Q3. No mention of privacy. They say crypto sectors in Q4, but when we come down here to the table, you'll see this is data as of September 23rd. So they say Q4, but this is much earlier data. So BNB in number 1, Prometheus, whatever the hell that is, in number 2, Avalanche number 3, Kronos number 4, Beldex again, whatever that is, Ethereum, Athena. You see KuCoin. These are Solana, Tron, the Chainlink. The normal suspects are in this list. Very different, and the numbers they're pulling down, like 57, 254. Nobody's pulling down a 600% number. Very different list this time. Things are changing. I think they're right to call this to name this whole report a preference for privacy. So you can go through the narrative. You can find this on the Grayscale site. They'll tell you everything they think about this privacy theme, but it's pretty obvious. When the Grayscale research team decides to focus on privacy in their summary of the entire quarter, privacy is very much the theme right now, and Cardano is catching it perfectly. We're catching it perfectly. You could argue that smart contracts were still kind of the theme in 2021, even though we were way later than Ethereum, way later than a lot of chains. But man, privacy is really the theme right now. And where we were kind of like almost last movers in terms of smart contracts in crypto. True, first movers in UTXO smart contracts, but almost like last movers in crypto smart contracts. We're kind of first movers on this latest vanguard, this latest technology and privacy. Like Midnight, it's hard, I mean, people can argue. People are going to argue and say, I think, the following blockchains have better privacy technology than Midnight. People are going to argue that, but it would be really hard to argue that Midnight is not in this vanguard group of privacy chains. And you can make a really good argument that the use of zero knowledge proofs and the selective disclosure in Midnight, makes it kind of the front runner. And, I mean, among the large blockchains, Pretty much only Charles started doing this like 5 years ago. Only Charles. So I think we really are locked and loaded for 2026. We'll see how it goes. Jay Marie says, I see some Google tabs. Any good news? Yep, we got good news. What's the origin of Zcash? It is a Dino coin, just like Cardano. It's from the same era as Cardano. Do you mean Philpa 6? Philippe of the... Oh, yeah, definitely know Philippe. I knew I recognized that name. Was that Philippe's handle? Definitely remember Philippe from back in the day. The Scar Pool, and of course the Cardano Effect podcast, the first Cardano podcast. That was sad the way that went down when he didn't get the catalyst money. That was it was sad to watch that go down, because I think Philippe made a very meaningful contribution to Cardano in the early days. I wish he would have stuck around. People are generally upset that we have been living in high inflation and QT since 2022. You named it. You said it, Mike. QT since 2022. When you do QT for 3 years, this is what it looks like. This is exactly what it looks like. Crypto gets all messed up. You don't have year 4 of the 4-year cycle. Everybody's super pissed. Everybody feels like they got poor. Prices go up. Wages don't keep up. Like, this is when you manipulate the currency so much that you have to rapidly expand M2 and then rapidly contract M2. You know, all these things that are going on, I mean, you can measure it however you want. You can measure it in terms of real M2. You can measure it by the Fed balance sheet, global M2, net Fed liquidity. But we've been in QT for the last 3 years. This is what it looks like. Midnight does so much more than Z. Yep, absolutely. 2026 for Midnight. That's what I think. We are locked and loaded with lots of Midnight bags. Lots. That's true. We just don't have them yet. The Midnight bags are sort of owed to us at this point, but most of us do not have them yet. The virus and lockdowns. Let's see. The virus and lockdowns and bankruptcies hurt. True. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Philippe, I really was sad when Philippe left. I think he was an important contributor. Let's do this. Thank you for the rundown. So much bad stuff happened in 2022 to 23. Yep. Crypto Gypsy, thanks for joining. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the comments here. Okay, let's go to this. So we've been getting a lot of misleading posts lately. There have been a lot of community notes. Thank God for community notes. They've corrected a lot of the craziness. But we've gotten quite a few of community noted posts, like really sensational, hyperbolic posts, and then it turns out they get community noted. Joe says, it's insane how early we are in this blossoming industry. Agreed. No tax on OT is a lie. Just the half of time and a half is tax-free. I know a lot of people who will be affected by that. And I'm curious. I think everybody's kind of all those people are kind of holding their breath to see how it turns out. But I have a lot of friends who will be affected by that. So this post said, President Trump warns that many surprises may be coming in the next 48 hours. When I see posts like this, I immediately try to source it. I try to find something that, find something that validates this kind of stuff. And before this community note came out, I couldn't find a damn thing. I couldn't find this on Trump's Truth Social. I couldn't find it on any of these other handles. Maybe he said something like this to some off the cuff remark to some reporter or something. I don't know. I like the sound of it. I like it when people say stuff like this. I like the sounds of it. But lately there's been a lot of this, and it hasn't been anything you can verify, unfortunately. So also saw this. This is kind of like our 70-day promise. So we get this. The phone call I just received confirms my suspicions. When January 1st rolls around, the buy orders are going to come in and break all barriers. Don't trust me, trust the billionaire who told me. So, and of course, you get this poster. Let's see how many followers this one has. So this person is, did I see like a 14,000? Oh, 104,000. So another poster comes in and says, I got a call as well. The floodgates are about to open. And it's like, you guys know who Fred Krueger is, but it it's like none of this is ever verifiable. It's like dudes are just like, can I pump the market a little bit? I guess 160,000 people will see this. I'll just write some stuff. You wonder if that's what's going on. I'm not accusing him of that being the case here, but you always wonder if that's what's going on. This person obviously wondering the same thing. Is that the same billionaire who has been having dinners with Mike Alfred? So obviously wondering about that 70-day thing we're always talking about in this channel, the promise of trillions in liquidity in 70 days. We still don't know what's going on with that. And yet we keep seeing these things, some billionaire told me things are going to be good. Jeff says tax code is outlying. 2026 is going to roar. I hope so. Did he say trust the billionaire? Basically, Bitcoin and hard capped assets' sole purpose and design was to negate dollar debasement. Yep, exactly. QE is the very land things like Bitcoin and ADA feed off. It's the conditions they thrive in the most. 2026 equals QE. That seems to be the case. We actually are in a QE environment right now. I mean, they told us they're going to expand the Fed balance sheet through reserve management, which is just QE, but to the tune of 40 billion a month. So we're there. Right now is down against the dollar 13%. Okay, there you go. If you're trying to monitor night, there you go. So we're also seeing a lot of this. As much as it feels like we're right on the verge of finally getting the liquidity, you'd think that somebody who lasted all the way till now, if you lasted all the way to the last 3 years of QT, and then you make a post like this, man, wouldn't you be afraid? Wouldn't you be afraid you would be quitting right as things are about to turn? So this post says, my farewell to crypto, not posting this for likes or replies. This one's just for me. So this is pretty big account, 78,000 followers. Been a crazy ride, massive highs that felt unstoppable, brutal lows that tested everything. Personally, none of it was worth it. Saying none of this was worth it. Zero interest in being part of this industry anymore. Current shape, future plans, all of it doesn't move me at all. Truth is, I'd be way better off if I'd never touched crypto. Was a pleasure, gents and lads. Wishing you all the best. DS logging out for good. I don't have any idea who the hell this poster is. I've never seen any posts from this person before that I can think of, but I thought this was kind of representative of what's going on. Like it seems like things seem the worst right before they're about to change, right? It's darkest right before dawn. You take the most fire when you're right over the target, all of this kind of imagery. It feels like we're there. It feels like things are just about to change. And it's almost like it's not like we're in the darkest part of the whole thing. It's just that I think some people, when hope is starting to emerge, when you think you might be seeing the first rays of the dawn sun, in this case in crypto, it's been so long and so dark, you get afraid. Maybe it's better if I just leave because I might be tricking myself again. That might not really be the sun. That might be a car's headlight coming over, cresting over that mountain in the distance. It might not be the sun behind the mountain. It might just be a car's headlight again. I can't put myself through it again. I'm going to bail because I can't take the disappointment one more time. I can't suffer the chance that it might be one more disappointment. So people bail right at the last minute. Do we know if this is the last minute? Do we know if the sun is coming up behind the mountain? We don't have any idea. 2025 proved the point I've been trying to make to people for many years now, that no one can predict the crypto markets. And it's still true. We can't predict the crypto markets. We don't know if it's a headlight rounding, cresting the top of the hill, or if that's really dawn. It's really the sun coming up. But man, for my money, I would not bail after going through the last 3 years of QT. This is not the time to bail. 2026, the dawn of 2026, does not seem like the right time to bail. You've already been through so much. Why bail now? But I wouldn't begrudge anybody who makes that choice either. Joe says, I hate seeing people say ETH and Sol are undervalued. They don't even have supply caps. Good point. Looks like from Zach's Fleep still operates the Scar stake pool. Oh, glad to hear that. He has been very quiet. I watched that last after he didn't get the after the Cardano effect did not get the money from Catalyst. I watched that last stream he did, and that was sad, man. I was sad to see him go. D Not Use says, I didn't answer, but I got the voicemail that the floodgates will be open. 10 billionaires missing called, all leaving the same message. There you go. You heard it here first. D Not Use 10 billionaire friends called to let you know the floodgates are opening. You heard it from the Husky's mouth. So we know, now we know the future. Sonic Chemist is already loaded up in the basement. 3 cents. There you go. There you go. Yep, keeping an eye on it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so here's another thing. So we've got the cool stuff going on with Gravity. I was also very glad to hear this news about Delta DeFi running on Hydra. But as some of you mentioned, you were delegating to the Army of Spies DRep address and hoping that I continue voting no on almost everything. So I was really glad. I thought it was really cool that Delta DeFi was running on Hydra and proving that a Cardano DEX could run on Hydra. I thought that was really cool. But then I saw this. What do you think about the recent info action, governance action? Delta DeFi Hydra trading infrastructure budget 1.5 million ADA. Is the amount a bit excessive given that teams are already working on Hydra infrastructure? Is it accessible this time to allocate ADA to a single Cardano DApp? So the responses are kind of predictable. There's this one. I won't read this one. Looks like they also have some Catalyst proposals pending for Fund 15. Probably would request my DRep to vote no on that treasury withdrawal, to be honest. The original poster says, thanks. I tend to agree. It's more suitable for a Catalyst proposal. This person says, how does it make us money? This poster says, Cardano treasury is becoming an easy cash grab. Since Carbozos are desperate for adoption, they will vote yes on anything that promises to pump their ADA bags. So I agree with this, the original poster. Not all DReps think like that, unfortunately. So here's the actual governance action. It is an info action. So you know how treasury withdrawals work right now. First, you have to do the info action, which was originally billed to us. Info actions were originally billed to us as sort of like a temperature check. And you can see, the no votes are outpacing the yes votes. I kind of agree with that previous poster. I think, individual projects who are just building out their project, that rings of Catalyst to me. Like projects who are building out critical infrastructure. If you're building out Cardano infrastructure and it's important and it benefits the entire ecosystem, then it kind of makes sense to me that it could be a treasury withdrawal, if it was, the right amount. But if it's just money for your project, and I don't know that that's the case here. This is brand new. I haven't read this thing, but it says bring the current Hydra spot DEX from beta to production, scale the Hydra and data infrastructure so that Cardano has at least one central exchange grade venue for ADA and key CNT pairs, and deliver a Vision 2030 KPI measurement program. So it looks like a lot of this is centered on their own projects. Some of that language talks about the benefit to the greater ecosystem. This looks more like stuff about their project to me. They have a whole section why this matters for Cardano. But this, I think I tend to agree with the other posters. This looks like some stuff meant for Catalyst. So I would probably vote no on this. As always, if somebody has some compelling argument why I shouldn't vote no on this, please feel free to let me know. Probably the best place for that is either here or, as always on X. But I can't see myself at this point, wanting to vote yes on a 1.5 million ADA withdrawal when we're already way beyond what I voted for at this. I think our latest number is, what did I figure it was the other day? 347 million, just under that 150 cap. this would bridge more than half of the way to the 350 NCL. So it's like, I don't think we need to spend every last penny under the NCL. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay without this one. I think that it sounds like that other poster reported they had some catalyst requests in anyways. So, I think as was requested in this live stream, I will be voting no on that one. So here we go. Grok outlined how to make a midnight on chain AI agent. I don't want to be in the future anymore. The present is scary enough. A midnight on-chain AI agent. So what aspects of the AI agent would be on-chain would be my question. That's the thing I would be wondering about. So here's something else. So you guys might like this. Ranking member Maxine Waters urges Chairman French Hill to hold long overdue SEC overnight hearing demanding answers from Chairman Paul Atkins. And you can guess what this is about. Part of what this is about is that Paul Atkins is very pro crypto. And down here in her letter, you can see Waters outlined more than 15 areas requiring scrutiny, particularly in response to crypto-related misconduct, failures to uphold the SEC's investor protection mandate, particularly in response to crypto-related misconduct. So she's getting mad. She's getting mad because she doesn't want Chairman Atkins letting all of us crypto people off the hook. So here's her actual letter. Here's her letter to French Hill. And you can see she went through all the formalities. It's a normal letter like you would see within a committee in the House of Representatives. And her first item is politicization of the SEC. Funny, that's what I would have called the last SEC. In fact, we have a nickname for it. We call it Operation Choke Point 2.0. Definitely the SEC, a lot of that is about, sort of debanking, but I would argue a big piece of that is the SEC piece as well. That's her first thing, sort of, arguing that Chairman Atkins is politicizing the SEC. And her very first point after that is the dismissal of major crypto enforcement actions. She's actually trying to get after the SEC chair for dismissing crypto enforcement actions. She says the SEC has terminated or stayed major enforcement actions against multiple crypto companies and individuals that had been credibly abused of major violations of our security laws. And listen to who she's worried about: Coinbase, Binance, and Justin Sun. As if I won't comment on the Justin Sun part, but it's like as if Binance hadn't suffered enough already. Like, hasn't Binance, taken the whip enough over there? And then you've got Coinbase, the very biggest company in crypto, a public company. Like, what do you want to happen here? Like, the SEC goes after Coinbase and all of the investors in Coinbase suffer. Like, if that's not meant to, debilitate crypto, what is, right? I would argue that, it's going after these entities was the politicization of the SEC. So of course, we're all crypto people, so we're all against a lot of crypto enforcement actions, especially against large entities like these, like Coinbase. Can you imagine a more mainstream entity in all of crypto? Is Coinbase not the most, regulator friendly entity in all of crypto? Binance, we already know all about Binance. They made some mistakes for sure, and they paid the price. Goddamn CEO ended up in prison. Like, what more do you want out of them? Have you not, wrung enough blood out of the Binance rock? What more do you want? But Maxine Waters, not enough. She wants to go back to punishing crypto. So it's not unexpected. I mean, this is kind of what we expect out of a member of the anti-crypto army, but that's kind of what we get. Brown Bearded Hermit says, yeah, I'll vote no on that proposal too. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm not. I don't have anything against those guys. I think those guys are great. I think it's great that they. I think it's great that they ran. Their instead of just building another Dex, right? It would have been like utterly insignificant to me if somebody built another Dex on midnight. Like it would actually be an interesting, like sort of prediction market. How many Dexes will midnight have 6 months after launch, or on the day of launch? How many dexes will midnight have? It's going to be a number. It's going to be some number. So if they would just built another dex on midnight, it would have been like not significant news. The fact they or even on Cardano, the fact they built a dex on Hydra is very notable. That is very notable. So nothing against those guys, but yeah, I can't imagine voting yes on that at this point. Coinbase is like a furry cat that jumps up on your lap. Good imagery, Guinness speaks, and I kind of agree with you. It is sort of like that, a furry cat is kind of a beautiful animal. No one wants that fur on them. No one wants that fur on them. Only cat people want that fur on them. I think if you're an old person who's not owned cats, like myself, you do not want that fur on you. You can appreciate that the cat has a beautiful coat and still not want him to jump on you. Coinbase is kind of a little bit like that. It's like I definitely appreciate what it took for Brian Armstrong to build Coinbase from, I think the story is that it was a small apartment with like 3 or 4 dudes just working inside his apartment. They built Coinbase from that into the, crypto colossus that it is today, a public company, made a lot of really good decisions and obviously ran the company well, built the company well. But at the same time, it's not exactly the wing of crypto that we're all kind of supporters of. I'd like to think that on this channel, we're all kind of supporters of the decentralized wing of crypto. Jeff says crypto is the problem, not subprime mortgages or the banking cartel as a whole. What a joke our political system is. That's right. That's right. It's not TradFi that's the problem. It's crypto. Crypto is out to steal money from retirees. I think she included those kind of sentiments in her letter as well. We're out to steal money from retirees because so many grandmas are in crypto. When I look in the analytics of this channel, it just says grandmas. The listeners of this channel is nothing but grandmas. And you're obviously stealing their time even by making them watch the channel. Sonic Chemist is outside the logistics down here in the Southwest. We honestly need real food and water tracement dApps to emerge on ADA or Midnight. Water is blue gold out here, and I want to plug into real infrastructure. Oh, Sonic Chemist. Is this who I think it is? Maybe this is who I think it is. Okay. We honestly need real food and water tracement dApps to emerge on ADA or Midnight. Interesting sentiment. So I think we're in pretty good shape. I agree with what Sonic Chemist is saying, by the way. We need to do, this has been one of the big themes of this channel since I came back. And I think it really is not just one of the most important things in Cardano, but I think it's one of the most important things in crypto. We need to do real shit. I think 2026 is the year when we can do real shit. A lot of people, like I just said, a lot of people are going to build, another goddamn DEX on midnight. We do need DEXs. We need them. We need to be able to swap coins, right? But it's like the centerpiece of my economic life is not like, taking a bunch of yen down to the bank and changing them for euros, right? It's like, that's something I might do occasionally. I might change currencies. Changing hard currency is something that I do in real life because I go to that other part of the world where they do not use the same currencies here. So I do actually have to go to legit money changers and, hand them a pile of bills and change that for the local currency and vice versa. I do that occasionally, but it's not the goddamn centerpiece of my economic life. It's not the thing that it's not 90% of my economic life. It's not 90% of what I want the economic operating system, I'm operating under to do. And in crypto, it's kind of that way. It's like, what if the entire, economic system of, modern industrialized countries was just money changing? It wouldn't make any sense, right? And yet in crypto, that's what we do. It's like, what what do we do in crypto? We sell each other weird currencies. We sell each other weird animal pictures for weird currencies, and then we swap those currencies and animal pictures back and forth. And sometimes the weird monies, the weird currencies also have animal pictures on them. That's largely what we've done so far in crypto. We need to get to doing the real shit, the kind of stuff that Sonic Chemist is describing right here, like water tracement dApps, real food tracement dApps. These things do need to emerge on ADA or Midnight. And in places like the Southwest, water is blue gold. I agree with all that. Jeff notes, Palm economy and like projects are what Cardano needs, not more of these random meme coins. Greed keeps us caged. Well put, Jeff. Damn, well put, man. I agree with that. We need to do the real shit. 2026 can be the start of that. And I would imagine best case scenario, like ultimate best case scenario, 40% of the people in the Cardano layerverse are focused on real shit. We're still going to have the other 60% of people who are just focused on doing the same shit iteratively, more dexes, more lending dApps, more launch pads, more of the same shit that crypto has done, that basically just functions as this giant money changing system. Like I said, right? It's like, I don't want the entire commercial and economic world to just be these little money changing kiosks, right? I have to deal with those when I go to the other part of the world, and I'm glad they're there. They are necessary, but it's like, you should have other types of commerce going on besides just money changing, money lending, right? Those are things that need to exist, but they should be a small necessary part of the economic system, not the entire goddamn economic system. Sonic Chemist says, I'd like us to actually monitor our homes and our own farms. Blockchain IoT infrastructure could help condense information 1,000-fold. Smart farms. Yeah, I agree with that. Yep, I agree. It's IoT is very promising. Certainly with AI, if we had, the build out of IoT would certainly pair well with AI, because the AI is very good at optimizing and using data to optimize things. But if it doesn't have the data, hard to optimize things, right? Guinness Speak says DCA ADA. J Marie, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you. Cheers. So yeah, so I think probably a lot of people today was their last day of work before the holiday here, or maybe tomorrow is. I know there's gonna be some people who are working both New Year's Eve and New Year's. Apologies to people in that situation. I've certainly been there in my life, so I understand. But for a lot of people, tonight is probably the first night of the holiday, or tomorrow night is. But in any case, I hope you survived. If you're here, I'm confident you did survive 2025, but I hope 2025 wasn't too painful for everybody. Thank you very much to everyone who has watched these videos in 2025. I appreciate it very much, sincerely from my heart. I appreciate very much that everybody comes and watches these videos every night. It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate everybody who watches these videos. So I hope everybody survived 2025 with not too many battle scars, but I really do think we're locked and loaded for 2026. And I think, if ever things looked good after being so bad, now is that moment. Hopefully that comes to fruition, and I will see everybody in 2026.